Hey everyone, Christian with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. We got back last night from Las Vegas for my bachelor party. It was overall a pretty good time. Everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas is not entirely correct because I just come back with a little bit of a cold, so not super happy about that. A little congested in the face, I'm sweating for no reason. All good times. Right now we are headed to a property that was referred to me by another property manager for a place that we've done junk removal for in the past. We are going to pick up about 20 bicycles. Majority of them are adult size. There's like 2 or 3 kid size. We started off this morning with a not so great start. We went to go pick up the 14-foot trailer and the back tire was flat and had a nail in it. I was able to pull the nail out, but I didn't have enough room to punch the thread through it so I could re-plug it. So I got kind of frustrated and just went out and picked up the 12-foot trailer, which kind of worked out because it actually has some metal appliances in it that I need to drop off at my house for my other neighborhood scrapper to pick up. So kind of worked out. The tip for you guys: when you go to a new property or a new apartment building or a new storage unit, somewhere you haven't been before, and you're doing a job there, use that opportunity to talk to the manager of the facility or the building, whether they're the property manager or they're the maintenance manager. Make it a point to talk to them so that way you can provide your information for them for future junk removal needs. Once you're there, you have a reason to be there. You're not just full on soliciting to them anymore. So if I go to a new property, like a new apartment building, and I'm already in the building, I'm gonna go talk to the front desk and see if I can talk to the maintenance director or the property manager to say, hey, we're here doing a junk removal for so-and-so. I wanted to see if this is something that your building could use on a more continuous basis, whether that's every month for illegal dumping, or maybe if you guys have evictions, maybe make us preferred vendor. We're licensed and insured. I can provide you a COI and a W-9 to get all set up. Just give them those opportunities, so if something comes up, they may want to use you as preferred vendor. And a vendor is basically your go-to person. So you will be the go-to service if something comes up. You are the go-to person to recommend if a resident needs your services. So it's a great thing to have with all these buildings. It builds a lot of repeat work. And most property managers and executive directors of like senior living facilities and property managers of apartment buildings, they all know each other at other buildings. A lot of them are actually on like mass emails. I learned that from Tanya, my fiance. She was a property manager for 10 years. And a lot of them, like, they know each other throughout the city. And there's nothing against saying, hey, we use this guy for junk removal if you guys need him as well. So that could be a good opportunity, of course. So just something to keep in mind. If you have the opportunity, seize it. Alright, so that's it. The maintenance guy had brought all the bikes out to the corner. I actually thought there was more, but I'm not seeing any, and I'm double checking because we went to like 4 different rooms. One room had a bunch in it, the other ones were just like a few things each. That's locked, so that might have been it. Not bad. That's done. And I didn't even have to stack the way I was stacking. I could have just bed loaded it all. So this is what we got so far. Pretty easy. Yeah, there was like 18 bikes before. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I don't know where those 6 went, but can't really charge them much less than what I did because I already gave them a discount. Like I charged them for a quarter when I thought it was gonna be closer to a half. So to charge less would be going down to an eighth, and it's obviously not an eighth. So it is what it is. But we're gonna go take payment. I got my square reader. I don't use Clover like half the other guys do. Nothing against it. I don't know, maybe it's better. The only thing I've heard is that it's better in terms of the tip option. I'm like, Square has tip too, they all do. You just have to preset them. So, I don't know, but we're gonna go take payment, head back home. I am getting progressively worse with breathing, so I'm gonna go home and take a nap or something. Welcome back to the next day. I felt kind of crappy yesterday, took all the metal and the bikes off my trailer and went to sleep for like 6 hours. So now we're on the next day and we are addressing the flat tire on the trailer. Now, I had a little hiccup with it, but we got it fixed and taken care of. So originally, I was just gonna slap the spare tire on it and deal with the plug later on because it was giving me issues. I think it was because my plugs were a little older, so they were a little stiff and it was hard to punch in through the hole. And I was getting frustrated, so I was like, you know, let me just put the spare tire on and deal with this later. The problem though is my spare tire, it's the same lug nut pattern, but the distance of the lug nuts is just ever so slightly off. That is not something that I knew was a thing. Never had to deal with that with my cars, never had to deal with it with my truck. Didn't know that that existed. Lack of knowledge, ignorance when it comes to tires. So that was a hiccup I ran into and had to deal with. So I went ahead and just bought new plugs and got it plugged, and it's good to go for now, except now we have a trailer tire that I can't use. It might fit on my 12 foot, I don't know, but I can't use it for this. So I'm at least gonna see if I could sell it, at least for the fraction of what I bought it for. It's brand new, never used. I had a cover on it the first year to help prevent sun damage. So overall, it's in pretty good shape, but something I never thought about. Something I want to show you guys in case you're like me and try to prepare for everything, even though it becomes a pain in the ass and you're always having to rearrange your truck and you're always frustrated because you have too much shit. But I'm more of a prepper. I like to be prepared than to not have that something. It's a double-edged sword. But something I found to be very helpful is to, number one, get an outlet adapter for your truck that just plugs in right there. And I use this for this situation specifically, or I'll also use it for my extra batteries for my drills. I have a charger with me at all times. So if I'm doing a project where I'm going to be using my Sawzall a lot or my drill a lot, I have a bunch of extra batteries with me, but I'll bring a charger just in case to plug some of the more heavy duty batteries while I'm using the other ones, just in case I were to run out of battery juice. And I find that to be very helpful. Now, another reason I like that is I will carry an extension cord with me and an air pump. I got this like 5 or 6 years ago. The moving company I worked for always had nails and screws in the parking lot. When I had my Hyundai Elantra, I shit you not, I have probably plugged over 20 holes in my tires through 2 sets of tires. And I just was always getting frustrated. I was always low on air and had to go to work. And then when I get done, I replug it and fix it. And I ended up just buying one of these from Lowe's. I think it was like 55, 60 bucks. It's never failed me before. I've never had an issue with it. I've used it on so many situations I can't even count. It's been a lifesaver. So I recommend getting something like this. They of course come a little smaller in size, but I don't know. It saved me quite a few times. But I'll keep an extension cord with me because although this can plug into the cigarette lighter of the truck and I can do all of my tires no problem, but if I need to do the trailer tires, for example, which I try to put air in them at least once a week, I'll put them back up to PSI. Or if I'm going to be doing a really heavy debris job, I'll make sure they're filled to their max so there's no wiggle room for deflation. And typically just parking around the trailer, no problem. But if I'm in a situation where maybe I'm on the shoulder of a highway and I can't unhitch my trailer and pull up next to it to where I could access it from the truck itself, an extension cord would come in handy so that way it can reach from the front all the way to the back. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't take up a lot of room to keep an extension cord with you, and it obviously helps out quite a bit. So we are going to put the tire back on, tighten it up, put air back in, take it off the truck. By the way, I don't think I ever showed this, but the tires are in the way. This is something I got on Amazon that I saw from another channel that I thought was super cool. It's called Trailer Aid. It's basically a little ramp that you would drive the trailer onto with a tandem axle so you could lift the other tire off the ground instead of having to use like a tire jack and a jack stand. And I thought that was super convenient and very easy. It's pretty lightweight versus having a jack stand in addition to like the one you need for your truck. And I think it was like 40, maybe 50 bucks. I'd have to double check, but it was on Amazon. I'll find it in my orders and tag it in the description in case you guys are looking for something similar. I love stuff like that that's like super convenient and like creative. that solves two problems at once. So check it out if you need it. But we're gonna plug this up, and then I will show you guys some of the equipment I use on a daily basis in junk removal that either help me get my jobs done, whether I'm with somebody or by myself, tools that make things a little bit more efficient and or easier to do my jobs, and then also some small tools and equipment that isn't quite as normal but can help you in tricky situations. So stay tuned for that. All right, we got the tire back on, all tightened up, everything's good to go. The trailer is ready for tomorrow. Going over some of the equipment that I use on a daily basis. Hopefully this will give you guys some insight if you are new into junk removal, or maybe you've been in it in a while. I have a lot of people tell me thank you about the mattress bars. They never thought about it, they never heard about it, and it's been such a game changer for them. You're welcome. They're great, honestly. I love them. So couple of things right off the back, whether you have a dump trailer or a regular trailer, it doesn't matter, a box truck, who cares. Get some garbage bins on wheels. They're like 75, 80 bucks at Home Depot, which is a lot for what they are, but they do last a while. I've overloaded them a few times and they're still good to go. You can also try to find them on Facebook Marketplace used for a little bit cheaper. I found some for like 50 bucks and I was like, I got that point about just get them new, not knowing how the wheels are, but you know, save some money. So that can definitely come in handy. I know some people like to use wheelbarrows. I'm not a fan of wheelbarrows just for the lack of control of it. If I had to opt out for a wheelbarrow, I'd probably get a Gorilla cart, which I do actually have, I just haven't used in a while. But a Gorilla cart is basically like a wheelbarrow on 4 wheels that has a dump feature to it. So that can really come in handy, especially, it's just big. Getting into some of the more common basics, like your everyday piece of equipment, you have, of course, have a hand truck, very typical. I would not worry too much about the quality and the style when you're first starting off. You can always reinvest into it as you get better and get a little bit more money. But I would argue that you should get one that has a handle similar to this. They have some that they're like this. They have some where they're just like 2 handles that stick out neutral, and those are fine, I guess, but they're also really tricky if you're having to go upstairs or downstairs. It's just not the best grip. I don't care how strong your grip is, that's not going to be your most formidable grip. Something like this, where you can grab it and kind of hook it in any direction, grab it from different points for better control, is going to give you more leverage and control over the piece, no matter your situation. I would also recommend you get some Carefree tires, so you don't have to worry about them going flat on you or deflating. Depending on the style of hand truck you get, you can get stair climbers. It's like an attachment. I could actually get them and attach them in these little holes here that you can see right here, and they hook down to the axle. Mag liners are known for having them. They're not super expensive if you want to buy the attachment and do it yourself. They're basically a little triangle shaped metal piece that hooks onto here, and it has like a rubber, like a hard rubber silicone strip, and basically when you go up and down stairs, it acts as like a backbone to help support those steps, so you're not just clunking each time. And it can really help if you're having to go upstairs with a heavy piece, but not necessary. I'm able to manage, you know, just a little bit extra control. Next up, you have a classic dolly. These pretty self-explanatory. Typically the wheels is what you want to look for. I would say to get at least a 3-inch caster wheel or more. 3 to 4 inch, 3.5 is pretty common. And try to get like a hard rubber one, not a plastic one. It's going to give you more stability and control when you're going through a more bumpy surface. It also won't get all rigid like a plastic wheel will. That can also scratch up the floors that you're on, and they typically handle a little bit more weight. So like the ones from Home Depot and Walmart that are like 20, 30 bucks, they're doable. But if you've ever taken one down like a bumpy driveway, for example, it was probably like this. You know, it's not super stable. You hit a little crack and whatever is on it's going to go flying. Something like this is going to drastically help prevent that. So check these out. Next up, we have a slightly different style of dolly. This is a rubber cap dolly. Basically just has a little ledge there. I mainly use this when I need a little bit extra height on a piece, in case maybe it has long legs and I need it to get across the floor without catching anything, or if I'm using it for my mattress bars, which is what these are. So these are rectangular bars covered in a rubber matting. Sometimes they're just metal, and they just hook right onto the dolly like so. And you use these for what they're called, mattresses. You can also put pieces of granite or big pieces of glass. Essentially anything you can squeeze between these pieces and have it rest on the dolly on both sides, you can wheel out. So if you've ever had to move like a 200-pound king mattress that's super floppy and heavy, and you've had to drag it through a hallway or carry it downstairs, you know, it's a pain in the ass. You stop it on one of these, not for the stairs part, but you stop it on one of these, you can just roll it easily now. It takes all the pressure and the hassle out of it. It's kind of hard to find them exactly like this. A lot of these will look similar, but they have like a little screw on the bottom to attach to a dolly. At least that's what you're likely to find on Amazon. If you're in South Florida, message me on Instagram and I'll send you the link of where I get them, and you can order them there and go pick them up. But those have been a game changer, and they drastically help out with, you know, heavy, difficult pieces like that. The next thing isn't like a necessity by any means, but it has its perks, and that is a curb ramp. So I actually had this custom made by my brother, the same one who got us the aluminum flooring and who built the 12-foot trailer with the aluminum sides. You can get these from like Harbor Freight. You can get them on Amazon. They're like aluminum bifold, super lightweight, convenient. I had this done when I first left the moving company because they had one, and I remember it making things just so much easier when you have to go into a house that has like, you know, a 6-inch, 8-inch front door like ledge. I also use these for my trailer on a almost daily basis, and basically it's to help prevent this little separation here from the ground. If I'm coming up with a dolly, it's gonna hit this and it's gonna cause an issue. Now there are ways to get around it. You push down on your side of the piece and it will instinctively pick up the other side, and you just kind of swoop it right up. Hard concept to grasp if you've never done it before. I know there's a couple people that were not thrilled about my upright piano solo video because they're like, how do you get it up the ramp? I'm like, you just roll it up. I don't know how to explain that any easier. But that is the exact thing you would do. You push down on one side, it lifts the other side up, and you just do it in a quick swoop motion. Is it perfect every time? No. But a curb ramp will help you out drastically with that. It can also help with if you're having to go out a house that has like a steep drop. If you go out with a dolly with, let's say, a tall dresser on both, like sticking out on both sides, when you go out that front end and you keep pushing and you come down, if there's a big enough drop and you're not controlling that descent, that piece may smack into the floor where the weather strip is, and that can crack tile, it could damage flooring if it's like a wood floor or something. So having that curb ramp just kind of helps prevent that sudden drop. So just something to keep in mind. Necessary? Like, is it necessary? No, but it comes in handy. So there's that. The last thing I have, I'm not going to pull out of my truck because it was a pain in the ass packing it in there, but it is called a Speed Pak. It is a giant cardboard box that you build and stick on top of any kind of dolly you want. It can hold pretty much 2 cubic yards worth of stuff, and it can hold like 400 or 500 pounds. And it's like a triple layer correlated cardboard. It's pretty durable. They're like 20 bucks where I get them from. You can get them at different places, usually commercial related like distribution areas. And you can also get like the plastic U-line carts. They just don't fold up like the cardboard does. But of course there are cons to it. You know, it could get ruined by rain and it does break down eventually. But it is something that drastically makes my job so much easier, especially when I'm by myself. Like all these bags, for example, I had 41 bags in here. I was loading them up from the garage, rolling them out to the driveway, and just taking them out and putting them in. I was probably loading like 6 to 8 of them at a time, versus having to carry 2 at a time down a long ass driveway. Probably would have taken me an additional 45 minutes. So something like that made things drastically easier. I'd use it for cleanouts too. I'll just bring a bunch of them with me. Sometimes I'll clean out like a whole kitchen, put everything in there, load it in the truck, and just leave it. I'll just bring extra dollies with me, and I can use 4 of them on a clean out and never have to actually sit there and bag everything up individually. When I get to the dump, I just lift the thing up off the dolly, dump it out, yank it back, and then I have my Speed Pak again. So it comes in handy, you know, and that's the whole point. It just makes the jobs a little easier, a little bit more doable, a little bit less energy being used. All right, so 2 more things, probably not as common that most people would have, but they have their perks. Number 1, a hump strap. You can also use a ratchet strap you get from Home Depot. This is just going to give you a little bit more stability, and you can use it for things like using your body itself. And there's plenty of YouTube tutorials out there. I made one where you could talk about using it for like with a dresser piece and a hand truck and the different ways you can do that. But you can like wrap these around like your upper back and your shoulders and like lift a big dresser on your back. There's movers that do it. It's not as difficult as it sounds once you learn how to do it, and it's not as back-breaking as it looks, I promise you. But these are like 30 bucks on Amazon. I'll link a video up here somewhere of one that I did where I utilized some of this just to give you guys some ideas. But you can go on YouTube and look up moving hump strap tutorials. There's plenty of things out there. And then the next thing is a drag pad. Essentially just a moving blanket. You fold it hot dog style so it's long. If you were in a situation where, let's say you had a really tall dresser and you were in a hallway where you had to go out and then split one of two ways, maybe if you were to stand it up and stick it on a dolly, maybe now it's too tall to make it out the door frame, and you wouldn't be able to put it on a hand truck because having it back on an angle isn't going to allow you to come out fully without catching the other door. A drag pad would come in handy. You essentially would lay this down, stick the dresser on the back side, and then you pull the front side like a sled, and you save having to scratch up the floor, and you save that extra clearance that you otherwise would have lost having it on a dolly. And you have pretty good control now because it's making contact with the surface, just protected. So it's not likely to really sway of one or two sides as long as you're not being obnoxious with pulling it. Ever think about like when you're a kid and like you pull your sibling on like a blanket and like they sit on the end, you pull the other side, drag them like a sled, you know, like you were really able to cut those corners? Same concept. So it doesn't have to be a super fancy drag pad or a moving blanket. Just make sure that you shake this off every now and then. You don't want to have like rocks and dirt particles on it and then go slide it on someone's floor. The whole point is to prevent damage, not create it. But those are two small things that you could try in addition to the moving equipment, and they have their situations. They're not like an everyday thing, but they're nice to have when you need them. So that's going to be it for me. I am going to go home. I'm tired and sleep. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas, and I will see you next time. Bye.